in this house. In this house. In this house.
Skinamarink. Okay, I'm just gonna say this right off the bat. That like toy telephone thing where it has the face on it. No, I don't like it anymore. I just don't. If you see this movie, you know why. Just no. Okay, so I heard about this movie. I saw the trailer. I think it was a couple months ago, and it looked intriguing to me because it was like, all right, it's one location, but what's going on here? And and I know this has been called kind of like the next, like kind of like Paranormal Activity, where it was, I believe it was $10,000 was the budget, and it somewhere around there, and it grossed like just in the theater alone over like 60 times its budget back, which is quite impressive. So it has, so it is kind of like Paranormal Activity in that regard, and this also feels kind of like Paranormal Activity. Um, the so the main plot to this movie is these two kids. They wake up in the middle of the night, and they uh, can't find their father. They find out their father is missing, and all the doors and windows in their home begin to vanish. And that's all you need. That's all you need, because because yeah, it, this is a movie that it doesn't really tell you a whole lot. Um, because it's a very like secretive type type of movie. And I also see um um why, because I know a lot of people say that they don't really like this movie, but and I can see why, because this is a slow burn horror movie. It doesn't really have a whole lot of dialogue, and it's its scares are not like popping out in front of you type scares. It's building up. It's very slow paced scares, and the scares, it all lies in the environment, because this is a movie where it's like, okay, you have these two kids, but it's the environment around them that is scary. And especially, I would say this: do not watch this movie. I would say if you want to be brave, watch this movie in the dark, but probably don't watch this movie right before you go to bed, because there's certain moments where I watched it in the dark, and I kind of watched it before I fell asleep, and yeah, I just reasons. I don't really want to give anything away here, because this is one of those movies that the least you know, the better. And even in the trailer, like all you have is just this imagery. You see these like old cartoons in the public domain. You hear the narrator just say "in this house," and it just, that's it. And it's like, okay, what is this? And I I thoroughly enjoyed this. Now, I do see where people can be like, this was kind of boring. I can see that. But I think if you are if you do like those, like, if you can take those slow, kind of like horror that's building up type movies, then I think you would dig this. Um, I mean, especially since it's all in one location, and they're using that one location for for the horror. So I think it works quite well here. And also it being on a very, very low budget, was like $10,000. I think it works just quite well. They definitely use their budget to their benefit. And it's also a lot of the building up. It's like, okay, you're setting this stuff up, and you don't. And another thing that I like is you don't really see the people. Yes, you see these two kids, but you don't see their faces. It's mainly just their legs that you see. Sometimes you see their backs. Sometimes you just see their feet. And so you don't really know. You just know they're there. But which, it works quite well. Another thing about this movie that typically I don't like about a movie sometimes is there will be subtitles. And sometimes then the reason why I don't really care for subtitles is because just text will just pop up on the screen. I'm just like, okay, that just got in the way, or anything like that. But with this one, it's so quiet that it's actually needed, and I'm glad it's there. Because this is definitely a movie where you need to watch it. If you want to watch it in the dark, great, because it is very dimly lit. So it works best to watch it in the dark, but also to, to watch it in an environment that's very like quiet. I think they did mean for you to watch it at night, because it works best that way, because it is so quiet. And there's also moments where, there are some jump scares, but it works very effectively. Like I said, the way they're building up the scares is that there's moments in here where I'm going, oh no, 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 no. And it's just there, and nothing else happens. It's just there, and you're expecting something else to happen. That's what I think a false scare should be. And this movie does it quite well. Like I said, this was a $10,000 some odd budget. So they don't do any of those like jump in your face moments or anything like that, because this movie's not interested in doing that. This movie's not interested in doing what a typical, isolated, found footage-esque film would do. Kind of like, this feels a bit like Paranormal Activity, where it's building up the scares, it's building everything up, it's all around the environment. It wasn't until, the sequels when it started saying like, hey, let's just throw something at the camera. Yes, the first movie did a couple of those things, but it was more on the environment. Like, how do we make the environment surrounding the characters, how do we make that scary? And I think this did it quite well. It is a bit boring. I will give it that. This movie is a little bit long. It's an hour and 40 minutes, which doesn't seem very long, but because, I would say the first 20 minutes is a bit like stretched out, because it is kind of like, okay, you're building up the characters, but you're going really slowly. So it is kind of like pandering a bit. But then once you get past that point and it starts getting into the horror aspect, then it works quite well. And I will say, the moments where it's like you don't, all of the windows and doors, they're vanishing. This movie does like make you scared of the dark. So if you do like sleep with like night lights on, yeah, don't watch this movie, because it's going to mess you up. But, there's times where one of the kids is exploring the house, and there's certain parts, I'm trying not really hard not to spoil it, because you just have to see it, where they're exploring the house, and I'm like, oh God. And then something happens, and then I'm like, oh no, something worse is going to happen. No, but whoa, hold on. The environment changed. Whoa, hold on. and I was just like kind of like pinpointing stuff out. And how I watched this is I watched it by myself, watched it in dark room, and I watched it with with headphones on, so that way I can hear mostly everything. And the jump and the some of the jump scares, it legitimately got me, like mainly involving a stupid toy telephone, where I was like, "Oh God, what is that? Oh, okay. Oh my God, that was loud." It was like that. So I was trying really hard to just not like shout because it was nighttime, and the for the uh, for the people around me. So I was just like, "Oh my God, that was loud!" Like, jeez, that was loud. But then the scariest part, I think, to me, was the ending, where I'm like, "Oh my God, like what is happening?" And then especially the last shot, where it's just nothing but darkness, but something's there. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's one of those moments where you're like, "Oh God, okay, please go away, please go away, please go away," and it's there for like minutes, and I'm like, please go away, please go away, please go away. Like you're expecting it to like jump out at you, to like jump right at the screen, and it doesn't. It just sits there, and you're just like, no, 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 no. So I had a lot of fun with this. So if you do not like slow paced movies, like slow building horror movies, you won't like this. But if you do, I definitely recommend this one. It's on Shudder now. In fact, I was gonna go see this in the theater, but then it ended up coming on Shudder about 2 weeks later. So I'm like, you know what? I'll wait. And to be honest, I'm actually kind of glad I did watch it at home, because if I saw it in the theater, I don't think anyone would have been there, because this is kind of a small movie, and I would have just been sitting in the dark, and it would have been more darkness surrounding me, and I would have not been more comfortable. So this movie, I think, nailed it. So I give this a great. Um, like I said, it's the pacing. It's very slow. So if you do not like slow paced stuff, you won't like this. It does take a while to get into things. When little like things are shown to you, it then becomes bigger as the movie progresses, and you're like, "Oh, so this is why this is happening. Oh, this is why that's happening." So definitely check it out. But yeah, if you want to be brave, watch it in the dark. But I recommend not watching this before you go to bed.